Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for investing your time with us during our Thursday afternoon lunch break. I'm Gail Willis. I am the Watershed Manager for the Lakehead Region Conservation Authority. I'm also a certified engineering technologist and a director of the Thunder Bay chapter of OACETT, and I will be your host today. So here's our agenda for the hour. I would like to start by recognizing the traditional territory of Indigenous people and the lands of which we are gathered on today. Then I will formally introduce you to our panelists, who are engineering technologists and technicians. Next, we're going to have a short video for you of our engineering professionals and providing you with some valuable engineering insights. I'm going to talk a little bit about Zoom etiquette and how we plan to take questions from your audience. And finally, we will open it up to panel discussions and take some questions from everybody. We would like to begin by acknowledging the Indigenous peoples of the lands that we are on today. While we meet today on a virtual platform, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge the importance of the lands which we each call home. We do this to reaffirm our commitment and responsibility in improving relationships between nations and improving our own understanding of local Indigenous peoples and their cultures. From coast to coast to coast, we acknowledge the ancestral and unceded territory of all the Inuit, Métis, and First Nations people that call this land home. I further acknowledge that as a settler myself, the lands where I live and work in the city of Thunder Bay is the traditional lands of the Fort William First Nation, signatory to the Robinson Superior Treaty of 1850, and is home to many Indigenous peoples. Thank you, and Megwich. Again, so my name is Gail Willis, and I'll be your host today, facilitating the presentation and the panel discussions. And let me introduce you to our four engineering technology experts on our panel today. Dwayne Seabarth is the Senior Director of Mining for Central and Western Canada for WSP Canada. He will provide you career insights of the mining industry, from machine shops to building concrete headframes to leading interdisciplinary engineering teams within Ontario, Canada, and worldwide. Dave Gibbs is a retired associate of Hatch, an organization that is passionately committed to the pursuit of a better world through positive change. Dave was the hiring manager and leader of construction and surveying crews for civil engineering projects, from building highways to bridges throughout northwestern Ontario. Francine Kotovic is the owner of Tomlinson Drafting Services based in Thunder Bay. She is the senior project manager and provides career insights from an architectural and structural perspective on the importance of the Ontario Building Code, the value of engineering designs, and being a certified engineering technologist. Corey Halverson is the manager of the Parks and Open Spaces section of the City of Thunder Bay's Infrastructure and Operations Department. Corey has worked from the ground up, starting his career as a surveyor, then a designer, a supervisor, then a manager. He offers valuable insight to municipal engineering and infrastructure work in a unionized and managerial setting. And we also have Stephanie Pichot, who is an electrical designer and CAD development supervisor for TBT Engineering. And she will be co-hosting with me and helping to facilitate the questions from you guys. We have a fantastic panel of engineering professionals and technologists. And first, I'd like to show you the video that we've done.
I started my career working in a large machine shop, and then it was actually the largest machine shop in North America. And then my next job was designing manufacturing processes for temperature control devices in satellites. The last satellite actually was launched in 2010, 10 years after I had actually left the project. And then I moved to Thunder Bay, and that's when the technical designer roller coaster really began.
I graduated from the college, and actually when I went to Confederation College, it was a two-year program. There was a technology program and a technician program. I did the 2-year technician program. I had no idea what I was doing. No idea what I was getting into. No idea. I don't know, I just thought it would be something really interesting. And I made it through, and then I got a job with Tomlinson Drafting Services, which I now own and operate it for the last 6.5 years or so.
Actually, my career started back in high school at Hammersholt High, where I took an NRT course, it's called, which is Natural Resources Technology, where we studied the environment, but also a section in that had a surveying component, where that's the one that keened my interest with using the equipment, and that's where my career started. And then I went on to Confederation College here in Thunder Bay, where I took the survey technician program, and then got a job with Procter & Medford, and then Engineering Northwest, where I was part owner, and then Hatch, and then where I finally retired.
I did go to Confederation College here in Thunder Bay, so I got my diploma in civil engineering technology, graduated in 1999, so shortly after, that same summer, started with a local engineering consultant, Wardrop Engineering at the time, and I literally started at the bottom of the rungs. I was holding a survey rod, right? I went through three years of school, doing calculus, doing all the concrete design, and my first job was on a survey crew, holding a survey rod for almost the entire summer with a brush axe on the other hand, cutting lines through the bush, right? So I very much learned from the bottom when it came to actual job skills, which was actually very good. My entire career was sort of built that way.
WSP Thunder Bay is known as world experts in shaft design, headframe design, and underground infrastructure. So we really are world experts. We actually developed the slipform headframe, so that's how you develop slipform concrete headframes. And so I've had the opportunity to go to Europe, Finland, Sweden, UK, and put on workshops. And these workshops usually entail how I would set up a project or a hoisting plant and help get the client educated on the best path forward. An interesting opportunity that happened several years ago was going over to Finland to help this company understand exactly what was involved with building a shaft and building a head frame. And I brought over some reference material with me, and I had this really cool video of us slip forming a head frame in Red Lake. And when we started the concrete pour, it was snowing. It was actually such a major snowstorm, we weren't sure if the concrete trucks were going to be able to get on site. Well, I had video of this, so I showed this to the people in Finland and the project team, and I said, you know, you can pour this concrete head frame almost any time of year as long as you take the right measures. And they were really impressed, and they thought, if we can build it in Canada, we can build it anywhere, because we're very rugged and diverse people.
As a designer, you know, there's times when, you know, many people don't feel that there's a value to the design, you know, and they'll say things like, well, I mean, we just had the experience this week in the office where I don't really need this drawing. I don't need a drawing. I know what I have to do. You know, I don't need your design. I have already designed it. I don't, you know, and they don't have the idea that design is not just the color of your walls or the you know, what size your bedroom is or how you lay out your plan for your house. Design is fully, you know, it encompasses everything, and the main thing is that we have to do to the building code, because the building code is about your health and safety, you know, and that's where I come in as a BCIN, person with a BCIN, which is a building code identification number for, you know, where I've done exams to qualify for small buildings, houses, large buildings, and where I have OACETT behind me saying, you are certified, you are credible, what you say is correct. You hear all this stuff, oh, what do we need that for? Why does the city make us get a permit for that? Why does that? It's important for the health and safety of everybody that's using the building.
One of the most interesting ones, of course, is the Nipigon River Bridge, if you will. I was head of the survey department, so that was my component of the bridge, was the pre-engineering surveys. And then Hatch was responsible for contract admin of the bridge construction part. I was the main contact here in the city for the James Street reconstruction of James Street Bridge. I did a little bit of surveying there, but I was mostly on the admin side with that. So I had a cross section of jobs within Hatch before I retired. One of them, like I say, was the surveying part, and the other one was with the contract admin.
So yeah, when you look at the summer job opportunities for the city, parks is a large portion of that. That's one of the added values, I think, of getting a job for a municipality. Especially if you get a job in the unionized environment, once you're in the union, you have first opportunity when job opportunities come up. So you have the ability. It's structured in a way that if you are interested in another type of job, once you are working for the city, you're able to move to another job and still have that security of either being able to move back, or it's not like leaving a corporation. You're within the corporation. So beyond that, there is a diversity of work going on a lot of time, whether it's in the union or in management. So we consider that as we're developing our management positions as well. We would like to be able to have people come in through the unionized environment and then transfer over into a management position if they're looking for that type of career path. So it's really the best of both worlds. If you really want to focus on design, you can get in through the engineering group and have that type of position, but if you want to get into supervision or management, then the pathway is there as well.
Well, contract admin, you were responsible for the report writing, the day-to-day, not necessarily day-to-day operations of the contractor, but you oversee how it was built according to specifications, and you were doing double checks and checks on stuff on the contractor to make sure it was built to the standards that were laid out for you. If it's an MTO project, we all have to be OACETT designated. So that's one of the things. But yeah, so we had technicians, technologists, professional engineers, environmentalists, all those professions working with us and for the project as well.
College and school gives you a great background. In fact, when I used to teach at the university, I used to say that you can go out and do anything. You could work in an electronics company that builds temperature control systems, or you can work on the largest mine friction hoist in the world. I mean, the world is your oyster. So I found that school taught you how to learn, but I got a lot of my training on the job. I learned from clients that would tell me what they want. They oftentimes had a great idea on how to get the project there. They want you to be successful. They want the project to be successful. So they're there to help. I also learned from people that have been doing this for decades. They were amazing teachers. I could list 24 people that I've learned from. I learned from a lot of people daily, but there are some senior people that they are just world experts. And then when we work together as a team, we throw an idea out there, we start building off of that idea. It's great to have an expert to come in and start to critique it, make sure that we haven't overstepped, missed anything. We do a risk analysis. But there are some people out there that just live and breathe this stuff, and they're so good. So I would say school gave me a great background, a solid foundation, taught me how to learn, but I gained a lot of this from people that are way smarter than me.
When I had first purchased the company from the Tomlinsons, and I went to all these, how to be a manager kind of things and business things that were interesting to me. And the one thing that stuck out on my head for me as a manager was hire people that are smarter than me. And I have. You have to put your design that's in your head on paper so that the other person understands that design in your head. What you put on drawings is about communication. It's not about, the content of course is important, but it's about communication and how you present stuff and the attention to detail.
To push yourself to do your best, right? Don't just be satisfied with getting by. Always be trying to learn everything you possibly can about the subject that's in front of you, because it will benefit you eventually, right? Doesn't mean that necessarily you need to have the highest mark in the class, but just with yourself, push yourself to make sure you're learning as much as you can. Because again, I saw that once you get into the work environment, that approach is beneficial not only to yourself, but to who you're working for, right? Whether it's the success of your company or the success of a municipality, right?
So collaboration, if you're a young person and you lack the experience, but you have the energy, now collaboration becomes key, because what you want to do is you want to align yourself with someone with experience that will be able to help teach you, and in the meantime you're bringing the energy to the project. So that would form an amazing group if you have that blend of experience and energy. You've got people that help outline the project or the tasks, and then you have the energy people that do the work. And it's a great way to learn on the job and gain experience. So I would say for young people getting started, you really want to try to align yourself with someone with some experience, collaborate with them.
Other people that work there have to be open to a little bit of criticism maybe, or working together, or they have to be open to that. It can't be like my way or the highway kind of thing. Not with construction projects. It just doesn't work that way. Never be too proud to ask another professional for their help or opinion. You always have to ask questions, and never be, you will always have something that you need to check with yourself. You might think, I know this for sure, I think it's sure, but you always want to run it by someone else. In my office, even if, like, I'm the senior project manager, but I did a drawing, I handed it off to my other staff member to check, because you can't check your own work.
Of course, if you can volunteer to what your studies will be, with a local contractor, engineering office, things like that. For a hiring manager such as myself, that shows leadership, shows initiative, and that may give you the run-up on somebody else that doesn't do that. In my opinion, if you're a member of OACETT, when I'm doing the hiring, we look at that, and it shows professionalism and a certain standard of employee that we're going to get with OACETT.
Well, even when you were in school, right, you signed up as an associate member, so it became a goal to achieve even while you were in school. So I came out of school very clearly focused on wanting to achieve certification with OACETT. So I was fortunate, again, I worked for a company where management in the company acknowledged the value of OACETT and actually encouraged me and sort of brought me into the local chapter to participate.
So it was an absolute pleasure of making that video. We will begin our discussion with some Zoom etiquette tips. So please keep your microphone muted. Stephanie Pichot will be taking your questions, so you can use the chat box in the Zoom and send your questions directly to Steph. And also you can raise your hand if you'd like. So I'm going to start the spotlighting. So our goal today is that whatever your role is in this industry, whether you are just starting your career, you are still in school, or you are a well-seasoned technologist, you will come away today with something new, a new idea, a fresh perspective, a new strategy that you can apply to be more successful in your career. I'd like to start by asking Dwayne a question. So if you guys can just unmute yourselves, we're going to start the panel discussion. So when we chatted about a month ago, Dwayne, which was an absolute pleasure, I have to tell you, you had some interesting techniques about how your company and how your technical team communicates to solve problems. Can you explain and describe to the audience the process you guys use to solve engineering problems?
Yeah, so I love taking credit for the pioneers that came before me and actually developed this process, but shamelessly, I'm going to explain it to you. So the first thing we do is whenever you have a challenge, we try to identify the challenge. Then we look at what are the expectations of the client to deliver that challenge. So it's in the form of a solution. Then we put together this technical scrum. And basically what this means is we have this diverse group where we're bringing in experienced people, young people that have new ideas, and everywhere in between. And we start troubleshooting these potential options. And sometimes as an experienced person, I might come to get forward and say, here is my idea. And then everyone just starts piling on and starts building that whole idea up into where we get a really excellent solution. And then we actually form the deliverable, and that is, how do we present the solution to the client?
That's awesome. I really enjoyed hearing about the Scrum, and I think I might take a few tips from that myself. So the next question I have is for Dave. Now that you're a retired Dave, and I know you had a long and enjoyable career, how would you describe your journey so far? Is there anything that you miss?
Well, thanks for that, Gail. Yeah, my career has started out way back when I was in high school, and it's taken me to places and projects that I never thought I'd work on. Throughout many years of engineering, it's introduced me to people such as the panel here with great stories, great insights, and to meet people that have passion the same as I do for the engineering field. Some of the major projects that I've been able to work on, of course, is the Nipigon River Bridge, some of the local stuff, James Street Bridge, River Terrace Subdivision, June Isle Avenue. But the things that now that I retired, and it was just back in May, I do miss the people, I must admit. Being with so many great people over the years, the close relationships that I've developed with them, and also with their families. So.
Yeah, I think that people working with the people, you kind of become a family, and it's hard to leave them, even though you're retired and you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go do retirement stuff now, but you miss everybody in the process. We do have a question actually from Tom, and Tom says, what type of design work is the Thunder Bay Hatch office involved in, and what are your primary services? Do you want to take that on, Dave?
Yeah, I'd say I'm retired now, so the Hatch office is has done in the past several MTO projects, either administration side or design side. Locally, I believe they're finishing up the Junot Avenue corridor reconstruction that'll be going on hopefully this summer. And lots of international projects, if you will, as well. But locally, we are a consulting firm that will take on environmental projects, construction projects, survey projects as well.
Awesome.
Now we do have another meeting or another question, Gail. This is from Roger. They're in a 2-year civil engineering course at Sioux College, and they want to know if having a PEng, professional engineering designation, is critical for hiring at most firms. Time is critical for them, and they are later in life, so this would hinder their prospects much. Are employees in your firms encompassed mostly of people with professional engineering certifications? And they suppose that this is their main concern.
Yeah, great question. Does anybody want to take that one on?
Go ahead, Dwayne.
You're on mute, Dwayne.
Here, I apologize for that. So, when you start talking about engineering, professional engineer versus like a certified engineering technologist versus a technician, you're really talking about multiple different facets. And, as a consulting firm, you need to have all aspects to have a successful team. And so I would challenge yourself, and do you want to do calculation crunching, possibly do project management, maybe get into the whole management field? Or do you want to be more hands-on, get into developing designs, drawings, models, do project management, get into the management field that way? So I would say it really depends on your personal preference. I think being a professional engineer is great. I think being a certified engineering technologist is awesome. So I have a bit of a prejudice, but it's really whatever your preference is.
Yeah, great answer. Does any other panelists want to chime in or add to that?
Sure, I can add to that. I agree with Dwayne. A big part of that question is a personal question. So you really should think about what you want your career path to be and where you want to end up. But as per what the job market entails, it might be different between employers. But a lot of the times, my experience has been that there may be a larger pool of technologists working within the team, with fewer engineers at sort of the top of the pyramid when it comes to designers, engineers that are stamping the drawings and management. So that's something to consider.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think being a technologist, we have a lot of different skills that we can offer. We're sort of more on the ground, I think. What do you think, Francine? Do you hire professional engineers? Do you have engineers in your office? You're the owner of a business?
The business that I do is more architectural, and
I do have an associate that I work with, but he's his own company. I don't actually, I subcontract him for engineering. So the only thing that I think is that if you are smart enough and driven enough to become an engineer, then go for it, because you got a certain amount of autonomy as an engineer, and you can just say, I'm going to open my own engineering firm and be your own boss, because I've come full circle from being an employee to becoming an owner and becoming the boss. And that could be something for you that you like, you know, like, just because you're an engineer doesn't mean you're not going to be doing the drawings and just, you know, and I mean, like, if you work in if you have a firm where everybody collaborates, like Dwayne is talking about, there's all kinds of work for you to do as either a technologist or an engineer. I'm just, because I'm on the owner of the business side now, kind of, you know, being an engineer allows you to open your own business, expand, grab more engineers, do different projects, be in charge more, maybe. I don't know. That's just my opinion.
Oh, and I like it. I think it was a good opinion. Thank you. So my next question is for Corey. You graduated in 1999, as did I. So I sort of feel like I'm mid-career, I'd like to say. Maybe the apex of our careers. Has the engineering industry changed over the last 10 years or so? When we were doing the video, you mentioned that you had to learn a new technology, LiDAR. What was that like to learn a new technology, and what challenges did you face to implement it?
Yeah, no, that's an excellent question. So yeah, it's interesting thinking about that. The last 10 years have been very exciting to see where the design industry and technology is going. When you compare it to the previous 10 years, that's the window of time where I was introduced to LiDAR surveying, which was very exciting at the time. It was not a brand new technology, but it had gotten to the point where it was a little more commonplace and mainstream, but felt like it was more cutting edge when it came to using the software solutions and bringing that 3D point cloud environment from outside to your computer. So I thoroughly enjoyed that. I wish I could have pursued that 100% if the opportunities had been there. But I learned a lot at that point about CAD systems and data systems at that point, because you were dealing with such a large data file. You couldn't think of it just as a CAD file anymore. So you had to understand more of the IT and database side of it. So within the last 10 years, technology has come so far that there are many more opportunities for technology solutions. Every component of your work now, you need to be considering what technology solutions are out there, whether it's CAD or data sharing of some form, and even to the point where the mobile technology side of it is more achievable now, and it can really change your workflows and your productivity. So it's extremely exciting that the last 10 years. And going hand in hand with that is that design requirements are not slowing down either. Things are more complex probably even in the last 10 years than the prior 10 when it comes to environmental regulations and health and safety regulations. So you need to be mindful of that, and continuous learning applies to all those areas.
Yeah, so anybody else have anything about what their thoughts on how technology has progressed over the years?
I'll tune in here. I'm going to take it back a little bit further than Corey with the, if you will, with the exciting times we used to have with the toll stations when they first come out, getting the right library codes and watching the drafting tablets go ahead and draw pictures of what you actually wrote in a survey. Now the other thing, the LiDAR has come full circle, if you will. Now the drones is coming into play. It's one of the things that we rely on nowadays, especially doing stockpiles and stuff like that. The answers come out much quicker than they used to.
Yeah, and I think there's two things with technology. It's like the more communication tools we have, yet we seem to talk less. And I really think we have to really force ourselves into communicating with each other. After all, we're a team. We really have to work together. And, further to Dave and Corey's point is we can show the client so much more now. We have these visual, like amazing 3D programs in finite element analysis. Like we can actually show them exactly, what is in our mind. And Francine had talked about that earlier. And I think that's an amazing communication tool. So I think it's just getting better.
Well, I would agree with that for sure, because, we're doing, well, I'm still doing AutoCAD, but the staff who are smarter than me, that's why I hired them, are doing Revit. And yes, you're right. It presents, you can present something really amazing to your client and they get that vision right away. That's a good thing for me, for what my part of my role, for what I do. I'm seeing that the building code and the energy efficiency code is becoming more and more and more complicated. So there's more and more and more design work, in my opinion, than there was, years ago. This is like a 35-year career for me. I'm not in the middle of my career. I think I'm near the end, I think. And there's more and more stuff that we have to look at and think about and worry about. And what we put on the drawings is so much more important now in regards to the building code. I just watched a webinar yesterday or the day before on energy efficiency, and getting to net zero. That is going to be, that's a lot of work for us to figure out. So that has become something that you really have to work hard at to understand, and it also becomes something that you end up using to teach your, inform your clients. They're always asking, why do I need to do that? Why do I need to do that? We're talking about different types of projects, smaller projects than say what Dwayne is involved in, but the building code is there. And we have to go through all of this stuff, and like I said, it's getting more complicated and more complicated, and it's good actually, though, because it makes things better. I don't know, did I make any sense?
Yes, I think you did. You guys did great answers there. So we have one question from the audience I'd like to share. It's from Andreas. And they say, how do we attract technicians and professionals to Northwestern Ontario? So what are your ideas on attracting professionals to our region?
Well, we have to offer them a good wage. Speaking from the other side, like I said, as an owner now, you have to offer them a good wage. You have to put the value on the work that you're doing and be able to offer them a good wage. I think that's important. People don't, they want to be valued in the work they do, and like I said, just said how complicated things are now. You have to have a lot of knowledge to do the work. So, there has to be a value to the design, and then you have to give value to the people that do work by paying them a decent wage. Hopefully I'm doing that. I think I am. So.
Well, and I think to David's point too, is if you have the passion for the industry, then you may want to go someplace that is aligned with your, level of excitement. For instance, if you really are into, exotic bridge design, I mean, the Nipissing Bridge is a great example. If you're looking to do something that's, that you've got an open mind, maybe you want to look at going in and just exploring your passion. So, I mean, you want to be able to work with projects that are really challenging your passions as a designer or, as a drafter or modeler.
I would, so if I were to add, it would be that if you're trying to bring people to the area who are not familiar with the area, I think an important thing to do would be to educate them on what is available, what is available in Thunder Bay, what's unique and special about Thunder Bay, whether it's what the municipality can provide and provides through services, or what other unique opportunities there are. Because I think it has to be more than just a job. That's a huge decision for someone. It's a life-changing decision, so they need to understand how it's going to impact their whole life.
Yeah, that's one of the as hiring managers, it's one of the hard things to do is to get people to really to come to Thunder Bay, from either from Southern Ontario, from other places within Canada. It's always been a struggle getting people here, but offering a fair wage is a great idea. The other one is our pension plan, if you will. Those are the things that draw people to the north, if you will. But it is a challenge. There's no doubt about it.
So we do have a few more questions from the participants. The first is, as far as CAD certifications go, how does one become a CAD designer? This was actually directed to you, Francine.
So you're talking about, they're asking, the question is about how to get a Bcin to be a certified designer. You have to write the exams. You have to have knowledge of the building code. There's, for me, I wrote 3 of them, I believe. There's a legal exam, so you understand the Building Code Act. And then there is, I did a small buildings exam, and that also included houses, so that you have a good knowledge. And then I did a large building, so I have knowledge of Part 3, Part 9, and the Building Code Act, and those are the ones I use the most. So getting trained in that is a good idea. I know some of you are still in school and you think, oh God, more schooling, but I mean, how else are you going to do that? If you go into these exams already understanding some of the building code, you should be okay. And once you do the exam, you get through it, it takes a while, but you end up being able to navigate the building code and understand what the project needs, and that gets you your Bcin. And then there's the other part where you have to get insurance if you're doing your own thing, and your insurance and registration. But having a Bcin, understanding the building code is really, really important for any work that you do, any work that we do in our office here. We just recently did all the work for the underground gym, because they bought a building, they want to turn it into youth center, and understanding that we have an understanding in the office of why would you need to do a building permit for a building? Can't you just let people go in there and use it as a youth center? Well, no, you can't, because the building code says, if you're changing the use of a building, you have to get a building permit. So understanding all that kind of stuff would put you in a good position, even if you don't end up doing what I do, where I get registered and I have insurance and that, and I'm running the business with my having a Bcin. It's so important to understand the building code, and that's, yeah.
Thank you. And as far as being more familiar with the CAD software, whether it's AutoCAD or Revit, how does one become more familiar with how to be a designer utilizing those software? And that can go to David and Dwayne as well, and Corey.
Well, I don't, sorry, guys, I'm the one who's lacking in my office for the Revit, okay? And everybody else that I hired, like I said, are smarter than me. They all use the Revit program. I'm still, using AutoCAD. But as a designer, like I said, the building code is a huge thing that you have to understand so that you design things properly, especially for buildings, and like I said, change of use and stuff like that. I know that Revit, there's lots of there's lots of programs out there that teach Revit, and if you can learn it, that is great. But you still have to have that knowledge of how to design and what you're designing that you get in school, that starts you off, and then comes through experience for how to design.
Yeah, I would just go out and learn it. Like, if you want to know how to learn, like, do something, then just like go out and learn it. I see someone that's on here is Lisa Bose. Well, Lisa challenged her one time with developing an underground video based on some Revit work that we had done. And she actually went out there, and even though we're like a kilometer underground, she actually developed this way to do a flyby and for this material handling system. I mean, she didn't know how to do that before I asked her. She just went out and learned how to do it. I mean, if you want to learn how to do it, then you just got to go out and you've got so many different learning tools right now. You have YouTube, which, don't get me wrong, I'm not a big fan of YouTube, but I mean, it actually can give you some good background. So go out and learn it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Oh, no,
I can add to that too. Yeah, no, I would agree that so if you get the opportunity to have a job that allows you to focus and work on the tool that you're wanting to learn, take advantage of that, because it's the hours and hours of time that you can spend. The more time you spend in front of the tool, the better you're going to get. And if you can actually work in a project environment with a team, that's the best case scenario. But if you can get your hands on a version of the software that's for students, and they always, there's typically tutorials or content on the web, you just spend the time using that tool and use the teaching tools that come with it.
I'd agree with you, Corey.
I have something now.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No,
Sorry,
that's okay.
Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, there's
I just had something to add to that. Go ahead.
Yeah, there's very few tutorials out there that'll actually help you. It'll give you the background to the programs and the stuff that you want to learn. But again, it's hands-on that's really going to teach you. The more times you use it, there's an old saying that way. But yeah, if you have the opportunity to take it home with you, through the laptops, to learn it and practice it at home is another great tool. If you can find people that have used it in the past, the mentorship that goes along with it. Yeah, but hands-on is definitely, the more you use it, the better you get.
As an owner, I try to encourage the staff to spend time learning as much as they can. If they need to go on a YouTube video, that's fine. Learn how to do something in Revit. That's fine. Managers and owners have to allow their staff to make mistakes so that they can learn from it, which is how you learn, right? You make a mistake in Revit, you learn how to do it better the next time. You have to allow for that. And I try to be that way. I think it's important that I think every drawing has something to improve on it. I think, we all make mistakes, and that's how we learn too. So I think in the owner, like somebody might be burning to learn how to do CAD, but if you don't give them the time or learn how to do Revit, if you don't give them the time to learn it and encourage them, you have to do that, or else your company never evolves.
I'd agree with you, Francine. The company has to buy into those types of things, that there is a learning curve. with anything that we do in engineering, if you will. And if the company buys into that, that surely helps. You can't charge the clients those types of things, or you won't be in business for very long. But like I say, as long as the company buys into it, definitely the training, absolutely.
So I'm going to launch a quick poll for the participants, but while everyone is answering the poll, we did have one other question that came in regarding co-op placements for students, and what type of work, if they're a civil engineering student, what type of work should they be looking for that would give them an edge upon graduation?
Good question.
And that was for any of the panelists to answer.
Well, I think when you say civil engineering, that is a open forum, because that could be anything from any one of us. We all kind of touch on that field. So I would have to say that when you're just starting out and you're going into co-op, you're just throwing something out there. You're hoping something will stick. You get involved with a firm, and maybe you'll find a niche. Maybe you'll find an interest or a passion. I would keep an open mind. I mean, I think if you're going out there as a co-op student, I think you just have to keep an open mind. Do research on companies. Find out who's actually doing civil engineering type work that you might be interested in Thunder Bay or elsewhere, and apply. But keep an open mind and be ready to go out there and do something that you just didn't really think you were going to be interested in.
And I think too, stick to it. Like you might walk into a firm and it might not be what you thought it was going to be right at the beginning, or you might feel like you don't know anything. Trust me, I know, I've been there. But if you persevere and stick to it, every experience in any firm, civil, any of the firms that you work at, gives you a leg up. Any experience, it's always learning. It's always a learning experience. And I mean, like, if you don't like it after a month, don't quit. Give it more time. Nothing is perfect. You gotta give things time. Persevere.
I do have one more question from the participants. The question was, is there anything that would hinder a CTEC, certified technician, from being promoted through the chain of command within an organization, as opposed to having a professional engineering designation?
No. Absolutely not. It's your personality. It's your ability to see into the future, to build a company, to build an idea, and to have senior people buy in on that idea. So really, I think the limitation is your imagination and your ability to build a strategy that's going to benefit the company. I think any company that have senior leadership that value your vision and your idea, you're going to get promoted and you're going to be asked to, lead. And that's just the way it is.
That's great. So we are getting close to 1 o'clock. And I think that we could just wrap up. So if you guys want to just give your final thoughts, you want to, and then I'll go on to my thank yous.
Well, I can start because I've been probably the biggest mouth here, but you all are about to embark on, like anybody that's in school or just about to come out, you're embarking on an amazing adventure. And like, I think when you look around here, there's a lot of experienced people, and it is a fantastic ride. Just be flexible, be willing to explore different things, and just go out there and enjoy yourself. It's an amazing world.
Yeah. So I would, if I had a piece of advice, I would say enjoy your first 5 to 7 years of your career, where you get to focus solely on yourself too. more often than not, right? Because that is a unique time. The longer you work, the more responsibility you take on. You have to start divvying that time up between other people, and it's great, but focus on your learning at the beginning of your career for yourself.
I agree with you. The one thing that I like to add is the show of respect, if you will, the respect of the profession, respect of their colleagues, if you will, so that if you have the opportunity to get a summer job, like you're saying, those are the things that upper management, if you will, are noticing, so that you can advance your career, if you will. Get involved within the company if there's programs involved, mentorship programs, if you will. But then do enjoy yourself and keep smiling.
Yeah, when I was first working for Bob Tomlinson, he used to come into the office, or later on he'd come into the office and I would say, "Are we having fun yet? Are we having fun yet?" So like you said, if you're not, you got to have some fun. It's got to be something that you want to look forward to going to. Okay, so you got to have fun. It's, if you're not having fun, then maybe it's time, maybe you do have to change careers, but yeah, it's got to be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, everyone, and our panelists today for taking part and providing some great tips, some great career advice, and sharing their career journeys so far. Thank you very much. I'd also like to give a shout out to Stephanie Pichot and the National Engineering Month Ontario team for helping me with the event setup and answering all my Zoom questions.
Thank you, Gail.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thanks, Gail.
Thanks,
You're
Sarah.
welcome. You're so
Great
welcome.
job.
Great
job.
event. Great event, you guys.